Hey there, welcome back to Creepy Encounters. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the videos. What's the weirdest or creepiest phone call you've ever received? I live in the middle of practically nowhere, about a 15 minutes drive without traffic to the small town by us. When I was in about 5th grade, my parents were at work. I was home from school and watching TV, so I get a call from an older guy saying I had a really nice blue shirt on. I asked how he knew that and he laughed. I locked my doors to my house and closed my curtains and the guy was laughing. I hadn't hung up the phone yet and I was freaking out. The guy asked where my parents were and I said my dad was taking a shower. He replies by chuckling and saying, "Sure." I hung up the phone, called my parents and told them about it. They called a police officer to come talk to me about it and they patrolled our neighborhood for a couple days. It was seriously horrifying. That gave me those horrid neck goosebumps right down my spine. That is some scary shit. Lucky you were smart enough to call your parents. Shudders. This happened a few years ago. Occasionally, perhaps a couple of times a week, but completely at random, I would wake up the next morning to a missed call from a block number, made right at midnight. It was never 12:01 or 11:59. It was 12 o'clock on the dot. This happened a couple of dozen times over several months. I started staying up to catch the call, but it would only ring once and there was never any sound when I answered it. So strange. Call I accidentally made instead of call I received, but here goes. When I was younger I had one of those stupid landline headset phones that were marketed towards kids. It had a little switch wheel on the side that let you either increase the pitch of your voice or decrease it. One evening I was calling one of my friends and their mom picked up. I didn't realize the switch was all the way low and so she heard a very deep voice ask if her 12-year-old daughter was home. A guy left 2 voicemails about returning his pot so he can cook his beans. I know nothing of this pot. My sister used to get these rambling voice messages from some lady always asking her daughter to bring over extra napkins, or cups, or whatever. The thing was my sister's voicemail message was an English conversation between 2 Korean singers she liked about how much they liked octopus. This was obviously not her daughter's phone, but the lady never picked up on it. When I was 11/12 I got handed a phone by a woman whom I have never met before while waiting around the school parking lot. She knew who I was by my first name though. She asked me if I was me. There was a girl on the phone probably my age then and we had a casual conversation. I didn't ask who she was or anything because she knew everything about me and I didn't want to be rude. To this day I have no clue who I talked to on the phone or the reasoning behind it. I got a call demanding that my wife was giving birth, and that in order to properly help her out with that the hospital needs me to wire them $5,000 ASAP. They were very, very pushy about it. They were breathing heavy and acting extremely emotional. Keep in mind this was all at around midnight. When I got the call I was asleep because I had work at 5 a.m. the next morning. I was really caught off guard. The weirdest part about the call is that I don't have a wife. This was either a scam, a prank, or the hospital called the wrong number. Didn't receive, but rather dialed what sounded like hell. I was calling a friend one time, dialed his number, didn't hear any rings but there was an immediate click like someone picking up followed by a lot of weird noises, some sounding sort of electronic and others creepily like human screams and wailing. It was like accidentally dialing a fax machine, if the machine was powered by souls. I hung up, hit redial, and got through to my friend, who said he never got my previous attempt. My husband once had a call from a guy who said, "Kurt, when I find you I'm going to stab you in the ass." In the ass. Hey. And he hung up. My husband's name is not Kurt, and when we looked up the number it was in a completely different state some way away. I browsed the news from that area for a couple days, looking to see if someone named Kurt had actually been stabbed in the ass, but I guess it was a false alarm. Every few months or so I get a call on my office phone from a robot voice warning all members of the Department of Defense about the increased likelihood of a terrorist attack in a certain area and to avoid said area if at all possible. I have no idea who used to have that number before me. When I first got my new phone I kept getting wrong number calls for some girl. It happened a lot at first but then only happened occasionally over the next few months. Fast forward to 6 months later when I get a call from a middle-aged woman wanting to know where her daughter is and claiming that I'm the girl's boyfriend. She then tells me that no one has seen her daughter in months and I was the last person anyone saw her with. I had no clue who this girl was. When I was in high school, an elderly lady I did not know called my cell phone while I was working, so it went to voicemail. I checked it an hour later on my break. She'd left a message with her full name, address, DOB, and social security number, then said it was urgent and she needed a call back immediately. No idea who she thought she had dialed. My outgoing message at the time was, "Hey, this is, first name, leave a message and I'll call you back," nothing that could have been mistaken for a business line. I called back to let her know she'd dialed the wrong person and shouldn't be leaving her SSN in a voicemail. A different woman answered and told me I'd called her mother's phone and that her mother had passed away. Hung up before I could even explain why I called. When I was in junior high, I stayed home alone one evening when the rest of my family went to town to run some errands. We lived way out in bumfuck nowhere and our closest neighbors were a half-mile away, across the valley. I had decided to stay home because I wanted to keep playing Silent Hill, the first one. I had just reached the part of the game where the entire town is turning into rusty chain-link fence and freaky shit is everywhere. The phone rings. I answer and don't hear anything at first. I say hello. Is anyone there? And I start hearing static on the other end. Through the static I hear someone chuckle and whisper something, fading in and out. The hair on the back of my neck stands up, and I ask, "Who is this?" Through the static I hear someone say something unintelligible and then laugh, then the line cuts out. I put the phone down, promptly turned the game off, and huddled in the corner of the bed with my back to the wall until my family came home a half hour later. Turns out it was my brother calling, with terrible cell service, and my dad was talking and laughing in the background. I continue to receive calls for Brittany. I am not Brittany, I'm a guy. After about 5, I ask for more info on this individual. A little bit of research later, I find out this Brittany character was killed in a DUI 6 months ago. How these people don't know this is worrisome. Frown. I picked up the house phone once and a guy launched into this long spiel about how he was training to be a masseuse and wanted to work on foot massages, specifically on females. When I told him we weren't interested, he carried on asking if he could interest me in a free foot massage despite my repeated insistence that no, I'd rather not, until eventually I hung up. The bit that makes it creepy? I was 10, and had a pretty obvious kid voice. When I was about 16 or 17 I answered the phone in the middle of the night, landline. Cell phones weren't a thing yet, and picked it up really quickly. I'm a light sleeper, so it wouldn't wake my mother since I assumed a late night call would be for me or my sister. I whispered hello, and he whispered back, and it was a little weird, but I just assumed it was my boyfriend. He starts asking what I'm wearing and all, and before long we're having full-on phone sex. I was pretty great actually, but then a few days later I was with my boyfriend and mentioned how that was fun on the phone the other night. He had no idea what I was talking about. When I got a new number I used to get texts in Korean all the time. I would tell them wrong number but didn't stop these couple of people. One time I picked up their call. They were speaking Korean, I was speaking English. I was telling them about what happened during my day, answering questions they might have asked if they were my friends. I have no idea what they were saying. It went on for a little over a minute before they hung up. My mother killed herself when I was 11. Age 28, at work where I had never revealed any of that, a coworker comes back and says my mom is on the phone, and that she will be here soon. My heart drops, I ask for the name given, and it's my mother's name. I try to answer it and the line is dead. No explanation. No one ever showed up. When I was younger on summer break home alone with my sister we got a telemarked call from a guy who sounded like Joe Pesci. When I told him my parents weren't home he was really curious, saying stuff like, "Oh yeah? Where did they go? When are they coming back?" Imagine in a Pesci voice, my sister and I sat on the couches with my dad's antique Civil War rifles until my mom got home. We still talk about the time Joe Pesci called. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe for more real-life creepy encounters around the world. See you in the next video. Bye.